On today's show, there's a bunch of players in the NBA that are up for trades right now. Which ones make the most sense for the Dallas Mavericks? Let's talk about the latest rumors and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Well,
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being an everyday or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Subscribe to our free Locked On Mavs newsletter, your one-stop for the best news and analysis on the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA straight to your inbox every day. Shout out to everybody that has subscribed. Appreciate each and every one of you. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, as always, my co-host, media member, the trade tycoon, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
I just want to say how good it was to watch Luka Doncic play basketball again.
Oh, back. I need Luka and Kyrie back.
I know. We got to get these two guys back on the floor together, but seeing Luka just dish up the other night and do his thing and hit some step backs and go on that little run he had there, it was just, I'm like, don't leave us again, Luka. Don't leave us again.
It's a good feeling. Luka and Kyrie have only played 13 out of 21 games together so far, by the way.
I don't like that number. And then
8 without him.
And then the family picture too. I'm like, gosh, y'all are so adorable with the
Luka's
dogs
family?
too. Yeah, the Luka family picture. Yeah. Need more Luka in our life right now.
In 5 years, how many dogs will be in the Luka family picture?
Oh my
There's
gosh.
there's three right now and one baby.
What if Luka opened like a dog shelter,
Dog shelter.
in Dallas? That was like his big community lane. Dirk had the like tennis match and the celebrity softball game. Luka has like celebrity dog walking, like 5K.
Well, he's walking like George Bush's dog
It's just like everybody comes out and
in
brings their
Highland
dog.
Park.
Yeah.
Today's show, we're going to get into some rumors, some NBA trade rumors. They're all over the place. Hoops Hype dropped a big piece with a bunch of different things about different trades. So we'll talk about a bunch of different names that you guys have brought up. Larry Nance, Isaiah Stewart, Obi Toppin, other guys like that. We'll talk about those. We'll also talk about some Mavs mentions. The Mavs don't want to trade their bigs, Gafford or Lively. Should they be so staunch in not wanting to trade those guys? We'll also talk about Maxey, and we'll talk about Jimmy Butler.
Whoa.
That's right. We'll talk about that rumor. Let's get into it, Isaac Harris. Let's start with the names that stand out to me first. I think for the Mavericks, if you're starting to look at trade targets, we did a show on this the other day. And I think that if I was to go back and do it again, I would think more about fours and backup fours that the Mavericks need. Spencer Dinwiddie has just completely taken off. And I think if we get that Spencer Dinwiddie, then I think their need for a backup guard is much less than it would be for, in the 4 spot, in the backup power forward spot, the spot that the Maxey is playing right now. And so looking through some of these names, there's a bunch of guys that are available. And so let's just start going through the names, talk about how much they're available and see if we're interested in them or not. Let's start with our old friend, Dorian Finney-Smith. Several playoff caliber teams have expressed interest in Finney-Smith, with some valuing him worth multiple second-round picks. League sources told Hoops Hype. Again, this is all from the report from Michael Scotto today. Thoughts on our boy Doe?
Yeah, I mean, of course you that's the thing that we said about Dorian before of like, yes, there's the name attachment because of his history in Dallas, but also you just look at the cost it would take to get him, where he's at in his contract, which he's on an expiring deal, and what the Dallas is going after. They're wanting a backup for, like, wait, if you trade for Dorian, he's not starting. Like, you're not trading for,
No.
if you go out and trade Dorian, you're not trading for him to be like, oh, is it Dorian versus PJ for? No, it's not that. Like, you're trading for Dorian Finney-Smith to bring him off the bench as the backup 4, and you're adding him to a rotation of Naji and PJ and these guys off the bench. So that's why, I mean, yes, I'm biased. I love Dorian, wanting personally back on the team, especially for a Mavericks team who can make a run to the finals. It was sad making a finals run without Dorian. It's kind of like
It kind of was, yeah.
It's kind of like winning the title without Devin Harris. and like you go back and like you think that Devin was on that team
Yeah.
because he was on the Mavs like before and after, but he wasn't, and it's like I don't want Dorian to be that. So no, I think and especially what Scotto was saying on Hoops Hype, possibly a couple second round picks type of thing. If the price is not a first round pick and you're sitting there judging Dorian for a couple of seconds and a contract, or is it another player and a first round pick or something, that's where you kind of like judge the two.
And what if they would just count Omax as that the sweetener? Dorian makes 14.9 million. You could Maxi plus Omax almost gets you there money wise. And so if that's the conversation, then all of a sudden do you upgrade your backup 4 spot just in that move, and you trade two 4s away that haven't really worked for you and get one back that has worked really well for you in the past.
Listen, I said this the other day and it was really hard for me to say. Omax just isn't there right now. And that's where I still believe in Omax, the player, and in Omax in the NBA. But I think their timelines might be a little off, and especially because he's at a position too that they desperately need. Like if Omax was really good right now, or at least like coming to his own, like it would be perfect because there's a clear spot for him in the rotation of what they need and what they want. But we're talking about a team who wants to win a title now, and is the win. They're in a select group of teams that is, we want to win this year. And if that's the spot, then it might cost Omax in a trade to get a guy who can get some minutes in the playoffs, like a Dorian Finney-Smith and other names on this list.
Yeah, another name that I am kind of interested in is Obi Toppin from the Pacers.
I saw you tweet about this today. I'm intrigued for your Toppin love.
Well, I tweeted today, Obi Toppin my list of Mavs trade targets now. It's kind of just a joke on his name. But he said, Michael Scotto says, Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker, Indiana's 8th overall pick from the 2023 draft, stuck behind Pascal Siakam on the depth chart. There's belief that Indiana could eventually part with one of the two. Toppin is in the midst of a 4-year, $60 million contract, and Walker still has a bunch of untapped potential and things like that. Obi Toppin is a 6'9", uber athletic, like wing backup 4 that has shot the 3 ball well in the past. Is not shoot it that well right now. He's making $13.5 million this year, $14.5 million the next year, then $15.5, then $16.5, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much in today's NBA. Although I'm not sure how much he's adding, but the Mavericks have lacked athleticism. This team is not super athletic anymore. Losing Josh Green, losing Derrick Jones Jr., they've lost some of that athleticism. To have somebody else that can catch a lob besides the two big men, I think could be very valuable. And if he could get the 3 ball back and something like that, and if he can just fit the role defensively with his size, I think that could help a lot.
Yeah, he is such an interesting player for me because I don't know, like you look at his 3-point shooting throughout the years, and he had just like one anomaly last year where he shot like 40%, and then this year he's like taking the same amount of attempts at like 3 a game, but he's down to like 30%. And then when you're trading for an Obi Toppin, once again, you're not trading for him to start. So you're trading for him to come off the bench in that role. So it's like, in theory, Obi Toppin over Maxi in that role, like you kind of like get it because of the athleticism and all that. Maxi still brings like a stretch 5 aspect that they clearly like. We even seen it over the weekend too, that they were rolling it out. Is it worth like the... It just feels like, for me, it feels like the price for like what Indiana will want for him will be a little bit more rich for what the Mavericks are willing to pay for that type of player, if that makes sense.
And like how much of an upgrade would that be? I think that's kind of your point, is that how much better is he than Maxi? He's better than Maxi right now. He'd bring you athleticism, which you just really need. You may take a dip defensively a little, but you get that athleticism, which helps a ton. But he's making a couple more million, and it would cost you something. And I don't know that it would just be Maxi plus Omax equals Obi Toppin, right? Is that enough for Indiana? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. And so that's the one that you have to answer at a certain point. And so those are 2 names Dorian and Obi Toppin that I think maybe top the list because they would come in, fill an obvious spot of need, but there's a bunch more, and these could work. Let's talk about Larry Nance. Let's talk about Trey Lyles, Isaiah Stewart, our old friend. Talk about all those names and more. Which one fits the best for the Dallas Mavericks? Talk about that coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com, pick 2 to 6 players and pick more or less than their stat projections, and then watch the winnings roll in. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with little as 4 correct picks. You just pick like they have, let's say Luka Doncic 28.5, and if you pick more or less than his points, you pick more than his points and you win, then you get to do that. And then if you pick, Trey Young 11.5 assists, you pick less than that, then he gets less than that, then you win that one. You set up your lineup, do all that. You can do all kinds of different things. And if you live in Texas, which we do, you can play Prize Picks. It's the best way to get real money on sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. Download the app, use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Download the app today. Use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. LOCKEDONNBA is that code. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Isaac, what's the last concert that you went to?
Usher.
Did you use Game Time to go?
You know what? I should have to use game time to go because it gave me like better like prices and everything. It would have been a much better experience.
You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. I've used Game Time for a bunch of comedy concerts and things like that. I've used it to go to Wings games in the past. I've used it to go to theater events, all that kind of stuff. And I love the all-in pricing. All you have to do is toggle the all-in pricing feature, and you see exactly what you're going to pay up front instead of having to get surprised by fees at the end of that and all that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Isaac, what time is it?
Game Time.
That's right.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We have a daily newsletter that goes out every day. Check the QR code on the screen or the link in the description to get our newsletter from me and Isaac that goes out to you. And we are still the #1 newsletter in all of Locked On. Let's go.
Thank you to everyone.
Let's go. We are the #2 Locked On Mavs, or we're the #2 insider program. We're the #2 most insiders. We're losing to the Bills show, Locked On Bills. They have more subscribers to their insider program.
Text in the snow.
That's all they can do is text up there. They still use the little thing, they still use that thing, the dots and dashes. They use that. But subscribe to that to get more content. I send out thoughts. These, the rumors from the Michael Scotto piece came out, and I sent thoughts immediately. So if you want to get updates like that straight to your phone, I send text from all kinds of game events, things like that. Isaac's doing mailbags on there. If you want to do that, subscribe. Check the other QR code to subscribe to be a Locked On Mavs insider. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into some more names. Hoops Hype dropped this piece. Another name that was mentioned is Larry Nance. This is one that's been mentioned a couple times. He technically plays for the Hawks, but he's been in and out of the lineup. Hasn't really. I mean, he just hasn't really played very. He's played 9 games for them, and just kind of in and out of the lineup. And he is one that kind of fits the bill. He's 6'8", 6'9". He's athletic. He's got $11 million deal that's expiring this year, and so it could be an easy maxi for Larry Nance swap, and you just add a little sweetener to it. The thing for me that holds me back from this is that. How much younger do you think Larry Nance is than Maxey? Putting you on the spot.
Younger?
Say it again.
Did you say younger?
Yeah. How much younger is Larry Nance than Maxey?
Oh gosh, a year?
He is exactly 1 year younger. Like both January birthdays, literally almost exactly a year. So he's 31. He's going to be 32. So he is not like a super young player like maybe you think. He's been around. He was drafted by the Lakers in 2015, which is all of a sudden going to be going to be 10 years ago. And so I just want to make sure people know that he's like, it's not that much of a youth difference there. And he's missed a ton of games in his career, but he has shot the 3-ball well the last couple of years. He shot 41% last year with the Pelicans. That was really good. And he's somebody that could come in and help. He's really good defensively. He kind of is what Maxey is, but just a different version of it.
Mm. Yeah, no, I think he would be an upgrade right now. I like him. I like him a lot. He can hit the corner three. You mentioned in Atlanta, he doesn't really have like a role right now, and great locker room presence too, from everything you read about him. So I would be down for this for sure. And I want to make something clear too about Maxey. We're throwing Maxey's name out there. One, Scotto mentioned him directly that
Yeah,
the Mavericks will look to use his contract, and in part because Maxey hasn't looked like the same Maxey. Like Maxey has been struggling with some back issues and injury stuff over the past few years, and he doesn't look like the exact same Maxey. So you're getting this the unique thing that Maxey would bring was this guy who could give you these like minutes as this five who could protect the rim, kind of weak side rim protector, but stretch the floor and hit these threes like he did against Utah in the playoffs. But he doesn't and be able to switch and hold his own some on the wing. He's just a step slower now. I mean, he's getting older too, but the injuries I think have caught up to him. So that's why you see Maxey's name thrown out there. It's reported, and he just isn't the same player right now. So I do think this version of Maxey, Larry Nance would be an upgrade over that.
It's the spot that they need to upgrade, right? You see the difference. You
The
see
backup
when
four,
PJ's in. You see when PJ's in, and then you see when Maxey's in. It's just it just is a big difference. And Maxey has been struggling offensively, and they need somebody that can come in and do some of those things and be a little bit better offensively. So could Larry Nance be that? Maybe. Another guy that was mentioned is Isaiah Stewart, starting a 4-year, $60 million contract this season. He's coming off the bench for the first time, but Scott is leaving executives around the league to believe he'll be available in the trade market from the Pistons. Are you into this one? The Mavericks were rumored to be around this deal last year.
Yeah, I like Isaiah Stewart. I love his like tenacity and stuff too, and his rebounding, especially if you believe in his outside shot. Detroit also has Malik Beasley. The Mavericks have been very interested in Malik Beasley in the past, and trying to land him previously. And I wonder if that interest is still there. Can still shoot the three ball really well. So I say that because I think there's some iterations of some stuff that you could look at Detroit and be like, all right, we've already done business with you recently with the Grimes and Hardaway deal.
And that was great for us.
Yes, great move by Nico too.
Yeah.
Also, look at these two type of players, and you look at Malik Beasley, you look at Isaiah Stewart. Both these guys would be welcomed in that like second unit, to where Isaiah Stewart can play your Maxey role. Malik Beasley would be another shooter off the bench on the wing. So, yeah, I like both those Detroit guys.
It's almost at this point, I guess Beasley would be an upgrade over Hardy. Right, like that's one where
you guess.
I would guess.
I would lean further into that and be like, yes, he is an upgrade over Hardy, and Isaiah Stewart is not scared of LeBron, so I like him.
No, he is not. Malik Beasley coming in to be an upgrade over Hardy, and then Isaiah Stewart, you're hoping would be the upgrade over Maxey in that kind of a trade. Interesting. That's an interesting one.
Yep. I would watch that Detroit relationship.
They've done it before, and it worked really well for them getting Grimes in that deal. Couple other names. This one I hadn't really thought of until they mentioned it in this piece. The Kings dangled Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles on the trade market last season and are expected to do so again this season. What about Trey Lyles for the Mavericks? He's one that it really fits that Maxey role. He's 6'9", 6'10", has played the backup 4, backup 5 for the Kings the last couple of years. He shoots okay. Last year he shot 38% on 4 threes a game. This year he's like at 33% on 4 a game. But what do you think about that? About Trey Lyles as maybe the Maxey replacement?
Yeah, I mean, is this the Sacramento great value version of what I just like kind of laid out, or is it like an upgrade? Is it like the Trader Joe's version of what Detroit has of you have a Huerter who's an upgrade over Hardy probably. You have a Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles, I've went back and forth on his career, so I don't have a strong like Trey Lyles opinion, but yeah, having that length and what he can shoot and stuff off the bench would be nice. So I'd be open to it.
So yeah, you have the Beasley Stewart connection, or you have the Kevin Huerter Trey Lyles connection. If you want to upgrade your,
I would take
backup,
Detroit's over it. Yeah.
backup 2, backup 4 spots.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting moves there.
I was going to bring up a Lakers one. What do you think about Rui?
Rui Hachimura is an interesting one. That's one where it's like that's the great value Kyle Kuzma move, where you're bringing in a guy that can get his own shot, is 6'9", a little bit bigger, but he's not a 4. He's more like a 3 to me, and so that would be an interesting move. But what would you give up for him?
Well, is it like too much money? And I don't know what the Lakers are trying to. I don't know what they want in return. I'm not giving up a Daniel Gafford for Rui. Like I'm not doing that.
Rui makes $17 million, so it's a little harder to get to $17 million for the Mavs. Max is making 11. Dwight making 4. Can you do $15 million? Is that are you close enough there? Would they take some size? Because that Lakers team needs any kind of size at all.
Yeah. You mean, well, Christian Wood's coming back though, right?
Yeah, Christian Wood and Jackson Hayes are injured right now, and they're hoping to get him back, I guess.
I mean, because he's coming back with a vengeance. I would be interested in Rui. It just depends on the cost, and it feels like what the Lakers would want if they're going to let go of Rui. They're going to want more than a draft pick in Maxey and Dwight, or Hardy, Maxey and Dwight for Rui.
Yeah,
I don't really see them doing that type of thing. So, but I'm interested in him as a player though. I like him.
They would want Gafford, I think.
Yeah, that's a no for me. Sorry.
Yeah, it would be a no for me. And it's a no from the Mavericks. Coming up, let's get into why the Mavs don't want to trade their bigs. We'll also name a couple other players that were mentioned in this piece, a couple other rumors. Talk about that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by BetterHelp. Everyone has things in their life that you need to talk through, need to work through, you need to think about, and need to get through. Isaac, you've been doing therapy.
I have, yeah.
Game changer. I've been doing therapy. Yeah, changed our lives, and you just need to talk with somebody that's non-biased, that can just come into your life and hear everything that you're saying and kind of work through it and ask you the right pointed questions. If you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, suited to your schedule. You could do it whenever. You don't have to pick like one certain time of the week. It could be different. It could be once every week, once every 2 weeks, once every month, whatever you need. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch to therapist at any time for no additional charge. BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, let's talk about a couple more names before we get into the Mavs rumors here. A name that got brought up a couple times, but it wasn't in this piece necessarily, was Kevin Love. The Hawks the Heat are not in a good spot right now. And I think Kevin Love could come in and I don't know that defensively he would come in and bring what you want, but he would come in and be the rebounder and especially the 3-point shooter that you would need in that backup 4 spot. Him and Kyrie have played together before in Cleveland, and you could do Dante for Kevin Love, and that trade goes through with the money there. Kevin Love's not making a ton. That one's an interesting one for me.
I think it's a no. Yeah. I'm so bad that I'm like really kind of holding out on. I don't want to like trade Exum right now.
Okay, so somebody else, but Kevin Love on his own.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be interested for the right like price. I'm not attaching draft picks. I'm not giving up Omax for a Kevin Love. Even like a Maxi straight. What's Kevin Love's? He's like 5.
He's making like 3. He's not making a ton.
Dude, what would the fan base do if they traded Hardy for Kevin Love? What I mean, just like what a weird.
It would be a very weird trade. I think they would be split a little bit, but yeah, Kevin Love makes $3.8 million this year, 4.1 the year after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a weird trade. But no, I mean, I think I would pass on Kevin Love in general, but yeah, I mean, I like him. I don't know. I think Maxey's still better than him right now.
I don't know.
Isn't he like 42?
He's 36.
Oh, okay.
He's shooting 40% from 3 on 4 attempts a game and 5.5 rebounds in 12 minutes. So
they are playing him over where and that is like
Over what?
and they're playing him over where?
Over
God,
who?
shut up. Whatever. I give up. You got me.
He thought our connection's been so bad this episode. He thought I was the I was the connection.
I'm blaming you. I have had nothing pop up on my screen that has said bad connection, and
I haven't either. I don't know. It's just it's just the site.
Whatever.
But Kevin Love would be an interesting one to me. They also mentioned Bobby Portis in this. That executives have mentioned him, but the Mavs went down that road last year, and I just think he makes too much. And I don't know that
Grant Williams.
Grant Williams for me.
Oh, shout out to Grant Williams though. I hate season-ending injuries like that. It's tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Couple of Mavs mentions in this one. He mentioned that executives around the league have poked around to see whether Dallas would part with either center, Gafford or Dereck Lively, but that's been met with initial resistance for now.
I bet executives have poked around on Dereck Lively. Okay.
Yeah, right. Are the Mavs right to try to keep these guys together, or should they be open to something if the right thing comes up?
Listen, I am one of the biggest proponents of you value the wings and stuff over the bigs. So it's like, oh, if trade Gafford for a wing or something like that. But it would take a special trade for me to consider that. I think you keep this tandem together. I think there's something special about this big duo together that I love. Lively. He's the center of the future for Dallas. He's still got some foul troubles. He's got to work out, but you just got to have you got to have these bigs to match up a little bit. And yeah, I mean, we've seen some of the stuff with Gafford in the playoffs last year. It wouldn't shock me if we're playing a series, this spring, and it's like, oh, Gafford's not playing a ton of minutes because they're taking advantage of him in pick and roll and all the stuff. But like, still, the overall course of the season, having both of these guys, I just think there's too many teams around the league right now that are looking for bigs. Are you talking about the Lakers and the Pelicans suck, but it's like
Kings
before they thought they were going to suck. Like there's just teams that want players like Gafford and a Dereck Lively. You got it. So I think you hold on to it. Yeah. Herb Jones is the only one that it makes me have a conversation of if it was Herb Jones for Gafford, that I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about that type of thing. But it's not like a home run. I don't.
To me, it would have to be a player that takes you to the level of like when the Celtics.
Am I overvaluing Gafford right now?
No, because I think the two of them together. But you mentioned Lively's foul trouble. Also, he's kind of injury prone. He did not play a bunch of games his rookie year, right? He played like 50 something games. So there's something there too. And unless it's a player that takes you to that level where the Celtics added Derek White, or added Drew Holiday, and all of a sudden you go, oh, this takes our duo to, all of a sudden we added this other player that's a definite 30-minute a game playoff player. You know what I mean? Which is, I don't know that it's realistic to get that from a Gafford package, but those two guys are too valuable to the Mavericks because of what they bring and then their identity too. The Mavs' identity is now that we have these two bigs. We're going to play bigger. We're going to score in the paint and do all that. And maybe that's the right foil to the Celtics thing. Took 53s again tonight. The Celtics took 53s again tonight, and I did it on Locked On NBA Game Night. They have taken 53s in more games this season than last season already.
That's insane.
I know. It's wild what they're doing. But so yeah, the Mavs don't want to trade those guys, which I get and I agree with. And I think it's right that they keep those. And they said, it's met with resistance for now. I mean, if it is the right deal, like you said, and it comes to it, I think they can do that. But Dereck Lively missed games and you don't have Gafford anymore. Then all of a sudden, here comes Dwight Powell.
It's Dwight time again. I love the other night on the broadcast when it was Follow or someone. They were like, yeah, it was Luka throws a lob to Dwight. And they're like, yeah, going back to rookie season, they got a familiar. I'm like, what year is it going to be in which we see? I was waiting for them to put Maxey into. I'm like, we're going to see Luka, Maxey, Dwight minutes that we've seen literally 7 years ago. But
it's been so long. We've been doing this pod the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, before Luka and all the stuff.
Right. Scotto also mentioned that the Mavericks are $5.3 million above the luxury tax, and that's when he said keep an eye on Maxi Kleber as a potential trade candidate for the Mavs to try and get under that luxury tax. That's something to watch too. We haven't seen the Mavericks make a move just to cut costs necessarily recently, but it's not just about the money. It's not, oh, we got these owners that have the most money. They should be able to pay it. It's not about that anymore. There are rules that hamper you from doing things because you're in the luxury tax, because you're in the first apron or the second apron or anything like that. So that's something to definitely watch for the Mavs. The last one though that I want to talk about, this popped up out of nowhere almost. He said, rumor within the league circles, there's been quiet discourse about whether the Houston Rockets or the Dallas Mavericks will eventually land Jimmy Butler, a Texas native, should he and Miami decide to part ways. The Heat are down bad right now. If you listen to Game Night with Locked On NBA Game Night, Wes Goldberg was like, the window has closed. That's how he started it tonight.
Such a big bummer too, man. I just hate that for that franchise.
Hate that for them. Hate
that for Wes too. You know, it's just tough times.
Yeah, too much good has happened in Wes's life. But Jimmy Butler, this one, just on the court, I could talk my way there. He makes $48 million though. To do that, you'd have to trade. You have to go through the amount of people that you have to add to the trade. You would have to add Klay, Gafford. You'd have to add
Miriam.
You'd have to add, who was it? What was I put together? Klay, Gafford, Maxey, and then Naji. Those four together make enough that you could get there. Or you do Klay, Gafford, Maxey, Grimes, and Dwight would get you there. And at that point, you're trading 5 players. And if it takes you 5 players to get one, it's just not possible.
It better be a dang good player.
And Jimmy Butler can be that, but
yeah, I mean,
you'd end up being the Suns from last year.
If Jimmy Butler was making $25 million, we would lead the podcast because I would be like,
there you go.
I want to talk about it. Like, because
right.
I think he would fit with the team. I think the personality and everything would be great for like all the stuff. At 48, there's just no iteration of it. Like, no, sorry, close. Like the door's closed. Like you just can't. You can't trade for somebody that makes $48 million unless it's like a Giannis or Jokic. Like
they would be the Suns from last year. They trading for Bradley Beal, bringing in a guy, and then trading a couple pieces away. Where you go, oh man, it'd be really nice if we had a Gafford and a Naji, but we had to trade them to get Jimmy Butler. You know?
No, and I mean, yeah. And we have the co-star in Kyrie. I think if you didn't have a Kyrie, you're trying to find that type of guy, but you're not messing with the Kyrie Luka dynamic. So,
nope.
Yeah.
There you go. There's a bunch of other names mentioned. So go read that piece. We send it to all the insiders. Subscribe to our newsletter. Subscribe to be an insider so we can catch the Locked On Bills. We've got to catch them. He's just dominating.
Come on, who likes the Bills?
Right. So subscribe to that. Check the QR code, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. We have a show tomorrow. It's a big game. Grizzlies, NBA Cup game. We'll have a post game. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Cup game, baby. Peace out.
Boom.